know you must make your money on the internet, right? That's the assumption, and the only way to do this is to make money on the internet. But there's actually many more ways to fund your travels than purely being an online entrepreneur. And I'm going to invite Brendan to the stage now to share with you all about how you can fund your travel adventures. There you go.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, everyone. All right, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to use this mic without making it turn on. Sorry? Hold it closer. There we go. Thank you. I am really excited to be here and to share with you some of the things that I've learned from my own life and from the surveys that I've done about how to fund your travel adventure. I'll speak very close to that.
Yeah.
So just to get an idea first of where we're all at, can I have a show of hands? Because there are so many different ways to earn income in this world, right? There's so many different ways that you can do that while you travel. So I want to get a show of hands. How many of you are currently working at a job? Like a regular, maybe it's 9-to-5 job, or maybe you are, okay. So that, look around the room just to get an idea. We have maybe, what is that, 10%, something like that, 15%. Okay, how many of you are own an online business, or you're an entrepreneur, or you do freelance work? Okay, that's probably 50%, maybe 60%. All right, how many of you consider yourself an investor? Maybe you earn money through real estate or through other types of investments. Okay, maybe 5%. And how many of you just live off the savings? Maybe you're not currently employed, but you are living from a nest egg. Okay, great. That's also about 5%. Excellent. Okay, well, as I mentioned, there are so many different ways that families can fund their travels, and I'm excited to share with you some of these today. I've kind of compiled them into 3 main categories, which I'll get to in a minute. But first, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of where I came from and my journey. So, if I could... Okay. Well, first of all, how many of you would really like to increase your income? Okay. I think we're in the right place. And I definitely have felt that way as well. When I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money in my family. My dad was a teacher, music teacher in a public school in Salt Lake City, Utah. And my mom worked odd jobs at a music store or, selling skincare products and things like that. So we didn't have a lot, and when I was 12, my parents divorced. So we had even less, and I was living in either my mom or my dad's apartment. And I would see the big house, houses up on the hill. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great one day I could live in one of those big houses? I could actually have some money for the things that we need as a family, things that I want. And I kind of picked up a mindset around money. I don't know if it was directly given to me from my parents, but it doesn't work that way. You have the rich people, and they probably got rich because their parents were rich, and that's just how it is. And here I am, and I'm poor, and I'm always going to be poor, and that's just how it is. You don't really traverse that chasm unless you step on other people's toes and you kind of beat people up, like in the movies. You have the mean rich people, right? Anyone else grow up with a money mindset, kind of like that? Okay, maybe I'm the only one. Well, I don't know. It took me a while to actually start to question, whether that was true. Whether it's possible for somebody like me to be able to develop an income and to be able to have sufficient money for the things that were important to me. So fast forward to my early 20s. I was married. We had our little baby girl, Emily, who's here, 14 right now. And we were living in a small apartment. And I was working at the call center, doing internet tech support, making very low wages. I was also teaching piano lessons in the weekends. On the weekends. And just a few students to help kind of supplement my income. But my goal was to become a successful computer programmer. And I was going to school in the evenings at a community college to learn to program. And I'd actually been programming a little bit, dabbling in it since I was a kid. But I thought, man, if I could get a job as a programmer, they make good money, I'll be able to have what I need. And I love computers, so it was something that that I was interested in? Well, while I was at my job, because I loved programming and I was having fun with it, I was playing around, I would spend some of my time at work opening up my laptop and programming this just a little side project I was working on to help me manage my piano students better, to keep track of the billing and scheduling and things like that. So, and I was really good at this customer service job, so when customers would call in, I just knew what to say, and I had all the answers memorized, and I could spit it out, and I could program while I was on my job, no problem. But one day, a boss came in, Brandon, come to my office. So I go into the boss's office. Yeah? And he said, you really can't be using your computer while you're at work, Brandon. He was a big guy. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I know I have really good scores on the team. Is it okay that I can, maybe do some homework or just, it's not affecting my performance. He's like, company policy. So I had a choice to make. Was I going to stay at this customer support job that I knew wasn't my future? Or was I going to go into something, put more of my time and energy into something that I believed was my future? I chose the latter. And I said, if I can't program while I'm at work, then I quit. So I quit my first job. And 2 days later, we had a little accident. We were at some extended family's house for dinner, sitting around the table, and our little baby girl, Emily, was sitting in a high chair. It was quite high, I guess, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but she fell out of the chair and smacked her head super hard on the side of the table. Actually, it was up here, on the side of the table leg. And she started crying, and Jen picked her up, started to comfort her. She stopped crying, and we thought everything was okay. Until a few days later, we were giving her a bath, and we saw this huge bump on her head. It wasn't your normal goose egg. You could stick your finger inside of it. It was gushy. And here I was, without a job, without any income, without any insurance, hardly any savings, and we didn't know what we were going to do. Anyone here been in a situation, tight financial situation before, where you didn't know how you were going to get out of it? Well, also around this time, my wife Jen's father lost his job. He was working in IT, in the same type of field that I was going into. That was my dream, to become a programmer. And he didn't do anything wrong, but the company was just downsizing. It was a big company, and they decided they didn't need his position anymore, and they let him go. And I started to wonder. Something in my mind clicked that, maybe this whole job thing isn't really where it's at. Maybe there's no such thing as job security when you work for somebody else. You ever thought about that before? Your boss or the owner of the company has the power to let you go at any time for any reason. And I made a commitment to myself right there. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said, I'm going to find a way to provide for my family no matter what happens to me, because I don't want to be in this situation again. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I saw this little program that I was making, this little play toy that I was creating to help me keep track of my piano students. And I thought, this has been pretty useful for me. I just put in my students' schedules, the payments that they're making, and it just calculates everything. I don't even have to think about it. I wonder if there are other teachers out there who might benefit from this same program. So I thought, well, it's worth a shot. I'll put it out there as a subscription service and see if any other teachers want to use it. So I spent weeks and months and really months. I was, again, going to school full time, and I finally did get another job as a programmer, actually, and still teaching piano lessons on the side. So I was very busy, but I got up early. I worked through my lunch hour. I stayed up late every day for months working on this program, and then I launched it. And a year goes by as I as I really have no idea what I'm doing, trying to figure out how to market, how to brand, how to do customer support. I was pretty good at customer support already, actually, because of my other job. But I was doing everything by myself, and I had no idea what I was doing. So after a year, I had a handful of customers. But what I also had was this excitement, seeing that people are actually paying for this program. They're paying me money every month to use it. Like, this could be my thing. So I continued spending hours and hours every week, morning, lunch break, nighttime, staying up late working on this and developing this into an income source that could support my family no matter what happened to me. Because that was my vision. That's what pulled me through all those hard things. Is that why, that motivation, that vision to have my family being taken care of. Oh, and by the way, Emily was okay. We went to the doctor, got a CT scan, which because I had just quit my job and we had no income, we were able to qualify for the Medicaid program and everything was covered. So, and it actually went away all on its own. The doctor said, don't do anything. So, we were very grateful for that. That worked out as well as it did. So, this online business that I created over the course of 3 or 4 years got it to the point where it was finally bringing in like $1,500 a month. Alright? This is after like 4 years of hard work. But that was enough, in my mind, to quit my job. It was at a point where I was working so hard on the business and so hard at my job, I couldn't keep doing both at the same time. And I made that decision again. Do I stick with what's safe and what's comfortable, or do I go for my dream? And I chose to quit the job, my second job, and go for my dream. So, after that, I was able to work full-time on it for a while. And I continued developing it, continued hiring people as it grew. And it's since grown to the high six-figure level. And we have people all over the world working in the company, a team of almost 20 people. And it's just been a very successful for us, and also gotten to the point where it's enabled me to cut back my hours to, yes, 4-hour work week. A lot of people think the 4-hour work week is just a myth. You can't really live it since it doesn't even work 4 hours. But I do work just 4 hours, well, 4.5 last week. But around 4 hours a week on this business that brings in high six figures. It is possible, very possible to do, and it's fueled me, it's given me the time freedom to put into other passion projects that I am so excited about. Some of the other things that are on this list, the previous list, like the Family Adventure Summit, like my Family Travel Accelerator program, which I'm teaching you now, some of this is coming from, a whole bunch of other projects that I'm doing that I'm very excited about. So, but online business is really just one way to create an income source, right? As Jim was mentioning, there are thousands of ways that you can earn money to support your travels. And we're going to talk about some of those today. Now, before I get to that, though, switch slides here. I want you to get clear on your why. Because there is, I think, a tendency, and this has been alluded to as well in this presentation, in this conference, that if you are just going after something because you think it's going to make you money, you may get some money out of it, but it's going to feel empty and shallow, or you may not have the motivation to see it through to the end and be successful. It's so important that you have passion, right? Passion behind your business. So I want each of us to take some time, just a few minutes here, if you wouldn't mind, getting out pen and paper or your phone, whatever you like to write on. Just take a few minutes to answer some of the following questions. Why do you want more income? How do you want to use it specifically? Like what is the purpose of generating your income? It could be, you could say travel in general, but what really does that look like for you? Who or what cause do you want to serve? Now, if you had, this question is not on the list, but I love this question. If you had millions of dollars and tons of time freedom, what would you do with your time and with your life? And how can money help get there? We live in a world where, money is a necessity. We do need it in order to live to a degree. But how much do you want to earn? How much do you need? No, there are people who travel the world and spend less than $1,000 a month. Families who do this. There are also families who spend $10,000 a month or more, judging from the surveys that I put out there. And the experience is wonderful either way. It just depends on what you want. So what do you want? Be clear on that. And then how do you want to feel with regard to your finances? Do you want to feel like I did, worried that you're not going to be able to make it to the next paycheck? Or do you want to feel confident and abundant that you know how to create wealth in your life? So these are some of the questions that I just want you to take a couple minutes to ponder on, to write about, and then we'll move on. Cool. Yes?
Put more income to travel freely and still have a home to go to. Use it to cover home and travel expenses. Who or what caused me and my family's health and happiness. And how much is nice round number, $8K per year. And how do I want to feel about it? Free and no stress.
That's wonderful, thank you. You know, I think the number that you came up with, and I'm just stating an 80K, you know, whatever your number is, having that clarity is so important when you're trying to figure out what kind of income source you want to use to fund your travels, because as we know, some jobs won't pay much, some types of businesses are much harder to earn types of income with, and others are not. So being clear on what it is you want is really helpful. Does anyone else have anything you want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, who has come from a previous life where I had a bit of money, to change and have none at all is quite a shock. But with that, it's changed my mindset about why I need it. And when I had plenty, you spend it on a lot of crap. When you don't have much, you spend it on your book. So I think the reason I want money is mainly I've changed from stuff to experiences now. So I want to use that money to show the world to my kids and have great experiences. So the reason I want the money is so I don't have to restrict the experiences we can have. It's nice to go, I hate going somewhere where you go, I'd love to take the whole family horse riding, and you go, I don't have money. So having that money to be able to do all that without restriction, I think is what I'd like to be able to do.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, the experiences that we can have, we have a little more choice when you have a little more income to work with, don't you? About how and what you do with your family as you travel. Thank you. All right. When I was 9 years old, I used to watch this cartoon. I loved this old cartoon in the 80s called The Smurfs. Anyone remember that? Smurfs. Anyone watched that old show? Do you remember when the bridge broke, or when the water was flowing everywhere and Gargamel was chasing the Smurfs and everyone was running around like crazy? There was disaster. Do you remember what music they played in the background during those scenes? Anyone remember?
Was it Beethoven?
Yeah, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, third movement. You remember that? Okay, I love that song as a 9-year-old boy. It just made me come alive. I wanted to learn how to play it on the piano. So I asked my parents, can I take piano lessons? And as the encouraging parents they were, they said, sure. So they put me with a teacher, and I go to my first lesson. And I sit down on the bench, and the teacher puts the music up in front of me and teaches me the notes with flashcards. And here I am, weeks later, playing Merrily We Roll Along, and Old Farmer Brown, and all these boring songs. I didn't want to play that stuff. I wanted to play Beethoven. So after 9 months, I told my parents, I want to quit. And you know what they said? Okay. And I'm so glad that my parents let me quit. Because what I did was I went home and I sat down at our own piano and I pulled out my dad's sheet music of Beethoven's sonatas. And I opened up to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, third movement. And I could barely read the notes at this point. But I started counting down. Let's see, it's a C sharp, it's a G sharp, and I spent hours over days and weeks in front of that piano memorizing how to play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, third movement. At least the first few stanzas, the first few lines of it, not the first page. And I loved playing that song. It was sloppy, it was horrible, my technique was awful, but every time we went to somebody's house where there was a piano, I loved to sit down and show off how good I was at the piano by playing this really fast and furious song. So, when about three years later, when I was 12, I started realizing that, maybe my technique isn't as good as it should be. Maybe I'm missing out on an opportunity to learn how to play piano better because I'm not taking lessons. So as an encouragement from my grandma, I asked, would it be alright if I take piano lessons again? And my parents said, okay. Then they put me with a new teacher, and this new teacher said, okay, Brandon, I want to test your piano abilities, just to kind of see where you're at, see where we're going to go with the lessons. So he had me sit down on the bench, and he put some music in front of me. And he said, play this. And it was really simple, like Merrily We Roll Along kind of music. I was barely plunking it out, really not very well. And I was kind of embarrassed. But my mom was sitting over there on the couch. And she said, hey Brandon, play that Beethoven song you learned. So here I go. And I look up at my teacher, and he's just kind of looking kind of stern, like he always does. And I played just as fast as I could, messy as I could, but then I look up, and his jaw was just dropped to the floor. And he said, okay, I think I know where we need to go. I think I know where we need to progress here. And I worked with this teacher for the next several years, improving my technique, improving my ability to play with emotion and to put feeling into the music, improving my technique, improving my ability to read the music. And I'm so glad again that my parents let me quit piano lessons for several reasons. First, because I think if they would have forced me to stick with that original teacher, I would have ended up hating piano lessons. I don't think I would have ended up learning Beethoven. But because I was able to do it my own way, in my own time, and driven by my own desire, my own pace, I was able to do it and achieve what I consider a good level of piano playing ability. I actually started teaching piano lessons when I was 16. So there's one other thing, one other reason I'm grateful is because of this quote from Beethoven. He says, to play without passion is inexcusable. Now Beethoven is referring to music here, of course. He said, it doesn't matter if you miss a few notes. What matters is that you play with passion. That you put your soul, your energy into the music, that you move people with it. And how much does that relate to life? We're here to talk about how to fund your travel adventures, how to earn income. But so often, how many people do you know who are stuck in jobs that they really don't like just because they're trying to earn some money? Rather than stepping out to play with passion in an area they're excited about, even if they play a few wrong notes, even if they make a few mistakes along the way. So, with that, just want again to remind us that the focus of this presentation isn't just about how to earn money. And we're going to talk about lots of ways to earn money, but please don't get caught up in oh, that looks like a good way to get rich quick. Because again, if you do that, it's not going to be fulfilling. And you probably won't be successful at it. So do something that your heart is calling you to. Listen to what you wrote down earlier on the passion test. Right, that's Ellie that you serve. Really good stuff. Okay. Alright, so now let's talk about 3 categories of income sources. 3 main categories. I have to offer first a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a lawyer. I am nothing of the sort. So please do your own due diligence. Do your own research before making any decisions or financial commitments in your life. And don't blame me if anything goes wrong. Alright. So the first category. Now these categories coming in from a survey that I put out. We do one every year, actually at the Family Adventure Summit, but this, the latest results are very interesting. Again, I'm every time we do this survey, I am just blown away by the huge spectrum of ways that people are earning income. And one other question I have for you, how many of you here have multiple sources of income? Okay. That's like 80% at least. Yeah, really important in this day and age, isn't it? Well, let's talk about this first one, jobs and freelancing. So, a lot of you raised your hand saying that you have a job, that you work for a company. Now, there are a few different types of jobs for freelancing. First is a location-dependent job. This is where you are in one location and you have to be in that location to work. This may not seem compatible with traveling, yet there are people who do it. A friend of mine, Mike Skopowski, he lives up in BC, Canada. He's a contractor. He does, construction work for people. But he works in the summer when a lot of people need work and when it's not freezing cold outside. Actually, BC doesn't get that cold. But he does that during the summer, along with some farming. He sells some goods at the markets with his wife, and then they travel during the winter to other parts of the world. So this is one example of a location-dependent job that can support your travels. Anyone here have a location-dependent job that's supporting them while they travel? Any examples of ones you want to share? Do you want to shout out anything?
I'm a doctor, so I can change my schedule around to do it.
A doctor, and with flexibility in your schedule so that you can arrange to do that whenever. Great. Anyone else? Yes?
For 5 years I have food trucks.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I have food trucks.
Food trucks. Oh, interesting. That's great. Yeah, I love the creativity and that is used for this type of thing. So, location-dependent job, don't rule it out. If there's something that you really love in your own community that you want to build, don't feel like you can't do that. Still travel. That's my point there. Okay, next. Of course, remote work at current job or new job. This one has become hugely common, hugely popular. In fact, this was probably the #1 method in our survey that people use to fund their travels outside of creating a business. So, with sites like Upwork.com and Freelancer.com, it is so much more common to be able to get a freelancing gig. Actually, this is different. That's the next one. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, just for remote work, this, for example, would be if there's a company you're working for, but you're able to do it remotely. You can, for example, a computer programmer doesn't necessarily have to go to the office every day because all the work they do is on their computer. They can just submit it to the server, etc. So, this, and companies are realizing the benefit of this, that, if I don't have to pay for the office space, it actually saves me money, so it's a good thing to have my employees work from home, and then we can just Skype in when we need it. There's a lot of benefit to that. A lot of companies are doing that. It's becoming much more popular. So if you have a job that you are doing on the computer, and it doesn't seem like there's any point for you to really be going to the office except for to be able to socialize, you might want to consider just asking your boss, saying, hey, can we do a trial run of this? This is right out of Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book, and he gives you a template of how to ask your boss if you want to do this. But say, can we try it out? Just let me try it for once a week. Let's start with that, and then see how it goes. And eventually, you may be able to get to the point where you can work full time remotely, and then you can do it from anywhere. So that is a possibility. Next, we have contract work. So this is where you have a skill that you're offering to somebody, to a company, but you are not working under their regulations, for example. It's not like a 9-to-5 fixed hour schedule type of thing. You have more flexibility with when you work, how you work, the tools you use to do it. And if you're looking for this type of work, if you just want to find work that you can do online, again, there's so many resources out there. I have two listed here, Upwork and Freelancer. Upwork.com and Freelancer.com. Any kind of work that you can do online, you can find at sites like this. Graphics design, computer programming, virtual assistant, legal work, accounting, anything. And the hang-up, the big hesitation that I often hear that people have about these sites is, well, yeah, but there's so much competition. There's all these people from India and the Philippines on there asking like $2 and $3 an hour. No one's going to pay me 20 or 50 or whatever I feel like I'm worth. But keep in mind, there are also companies out there who don't want to pay the $2 and $3 an hour Filipinos and Indians. They want quality workers who know how to speak fluent native English, who have experience working in the Western cultures. So if you can get on those sites and present yourself well and pitch yourself well, it can become much more likely that you can get a freelancing gig on a site like that. I've hired people, yes, I've hired at the $2 and $3 an hour level, but I've also hired people at over $100 an hour on sites like this before. So the work is out there if you're looking for it. And then next we have local work or a foreign job. So, in some countries this may be easier than others, but there are a lot of people, for example, who will go to Japan and teach English for a year, or China, and get a job doing that. And that can be a great opportunity to actually deeply immerse yourself in a culture as you're living there for a while. Or, you could, tons of different works. I should say also, I don't have the handout because I realized, okay, well, I have a handout I'm going to give you, but not in paper. So, with a whole bunch of resources for places you can go, there are probably, 5 or 10 different ones just for the local and foreign work alone. Places you can find work in different countries. Local work as a foreign. So, I'll give you the link to that in a minute. But because some of the links were really long and everything, I figured it would just be easier to put it online and have you download it. You don't have to put in your email or anything. You just go to, there it is, BrandonPearce.com. Oh no, that link is wrong. Okay, it's BrandonPearce.com/P/PWS. If you want to write that down right now, I recommend you can go there and download. Huge resource guide. It'll also, along with this resource guide, is a list of questions for you to ask yourself more self-introspection questions about your own financial goals and what type of income source will work for you. It's BrandonPearce.com. Pearce is spelled P-E-A-R-C-E. /P. I really wish this was not wrong. I'm sorry. Just add an extra slash and an extra P in there. So /P/PWS for Project World School, right? Okay. So this is, and again, this resource guide and a lot of the training that I'm giving today is coming from my Family Travel Accelerator program, which is a monthly live training I give. I give for families interested in long-term travel, vacation independence, and that type of thing. We cover a lot of different topics. The last one I gave was actually on real estate. So, global real estate investing. So we cover a pretty broad range of topics. But
I saw you're doing an open session on that.
Yeah, I put an open session. If anyone's interested in talking about global real estate with me, I'd love to. If any of you are global real estate investors or are interested in doing that, I'd love to converse with you about that. So, the open session, I guess that's tomorrow, right? Okay. All right. So before we move on, does anyone here have any questions about that first category, jobs and freelancing? Yes.
So you guys are doing the sites, and I was wondering if they ever hire without a formal degree.
Will they hire people without a formal degree?
For teaching English, I know a lot of them say bachelor's degrees, but I don't know, I homeschooled for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with special ed for years.
Yeah.
So I hope that I ever overlooked some of it.
So you're wondering, how important are credentials, like degrees, in finding online work? Oh, excuse me, Chair. I think, again, it's going to depend on the employer. If you go to a site like monster.com, you're going to find more traditional types of jobs, and a lot of those will be online, but they will have more requirements. I think at places like Upwork and Freelancer, they're less interested, they care less about degrees and are more interested in your skills and your portfolio. So if you could show that you have this experience, especially if you've done this kind of work before, and you can demonstrate that, maybe have some testimonials, that I think is good enough. I almost never look at credentials when I hire, personally. I look at their past experience and what they've done. So, I'm not everyone, but that's no way. Any other questions on job freelancing? Yes?
Just an idea first. So, what I've seen a lot of people do on sites like Fiverr, Upwork, and Freelance is they will offer their service really, really cheap, and they get lots and lots of reviews. And really, what people are looking for is, oh, this person's been hired 50 times and they got 4 out of 5 stars. Like, I'll go with this person and they up their rate back up.
Yep, I do that.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Thank you, Jim.
And Brandon, just one other thing about the English teaching. You can just do an online teacher certificate. It took me about 2 weeks.
You can get an online teaching certificate in about 2 weeks if you want to be certified now.
$100.
That's great, thank you. All right, let's go on to talk about the second category of income sources. This is create a business. This is a huge one, right? Now, before we go into any detail in this, I want to point out one huge advantage to running a business over doing jobs and freelancing. And that is, especially for us U.S. citizens, taxes, right? Because when you are working for another company, or when you are self-employed, but when you're working for another company, you pay taxes on everything that you earn, and you don't even pay the taxes. The company pays the taxes for you before you even get the money. You get what's left over after the taxes are paid. But with a business, it's the opposite. You earn your money, you spend your money, and then you pay taxes on what's left over. So if you have a business, you have so much more control over how much you pay in taxes. Right? So with that understanding, let's talk about a few different types of businesses you can create. First, we have a digital product. This could be something like software product. This is what I created with Music Teacher's Helper, right? It's online subscription service people log into and use. It's a software product. Another one would be, for example, an online course. So do you have a skill, do you have knowledge that you could teach other people in the form of an online course that you could sell to them, you could purchase it online? That would be an example of a digital product. One of the huge benefits of digital products is that they are so easily scalable. There's no distribution, right? They just click a link and they download it and it's there. You don't have to store anything, you don't have to ship anything, you don't have to build anything. It's all there online. So digital products are a very powerful way to create an income source. Yes?
Do you have any kind of resources for where to market these online courses?
So if you want to market an online course, a few different resources. One would be, this is going to depend on the type of course you want to create, but there are sites like udemy.com and coursera.com where you can post your course. Typically those will be low-cost courses, but they pretty much market it for you. People will search for your topic in their platform, and then they'll be able to purchase your course, and you will get a percentage of what you're selling it for. With other online courses, the way I like to do it, and I actually just launched an online course called the Dream Achievement Blueprint. This is a course where I share the strategies, the mindsets, the tools, the practices that I've used to accomplish my biggest life dreams. And I talk about how to gain clarity on what it is you want to create, how to be productive and proactive in accomplishing it, and then how to make sure you're doing it in a way that's sustainable and fulfilling and joyful and not one that will cause you to burn out or to feel unfulfilled. So that's my online course. I'm using a platform called Kajabi, Kajabi.com. And the reason I do that, they have a fairly high monthly fee, but I don't have to pay any commission. I don't have to take a cut, or don't have to lose a cut from the payments that come in. That does, however, make me responsible to market it myself. So I have my own email list that I continue to email out. I do Facebook ads and regular marketing strategies in order to promote that. Yes?
Is that the learning management platform that you use, or is that some other kind of service?
It is both. The way it works is, if you sign up for my course, you would log into the members area and you would see all of the videos there that you can then watch, download the worksheets and the training that comes along with that. My course. Yeah, but nobody else's course, unless you sign up for their course, and then you can have access to that.
So it's like a service that hosts a bunch of different kinds of courses.
Yes, Kajabi is its own course hosting platform that you can use privately. Whereas something like Udemy or Coursera would be a public course hosting platform where your course would be viewed along with thousands of other courses from other people. Okay. Next we have a physical product. Alright? Some people may also think that this is something that's not compatible with traveling. But yet again, we have people breaking these norms. So, anyone here have, I think this was asked earlier, an Amazon business where you're selling a product on Amazon? I think there were 1 or 2 people. So let me tell you just a little bit about this. You guys, if you have questions, ask them though, because I don't actually have an Amazon business. Raise your hand again so people can see who you are. Okay, these are our Amazon experts. So with Amazon, or one option, here's kind of a scenario for how this might play out. Let's say you want to make, if you're really passionate about like cat sweaters or something, okay? It's like you love cat sweaters, you think every cat in the world needs to have a sweater. So you go to Alibaba.com and you search cat sweaters or pet sweaters or something, and you find a style you kind of like, and you email them and you say, hey, or you contact the manufacturer and say, can I have this sweater but with these few tweaks and these different colors and patterns and stuff? And then they'll say, okay, they'll send you a sample. If you like it, you say, great, let's go. And then what you have them do is you just say, you buy a certain number, let's say buy 100 or 1,000 of these sweaters. They will ship it directly from their manufacturing plant to Amazon Fulfillment Services in the good old USA, or wherever you want to sell it with Amazon. And then Amazon, all you have to do on there is create your website, or create the page that advertises it on Amazon, take the photos, get reviews, etc., which is a lot of work. It's the hard part. And then Amazon sells it for you, pretty much. Anyone can search it up in Amazon's platform, biggest shopping center in the world. And then when it sells, Amazon takes a cut, usually around 15%. But this is fantastic, right? You don't have to house the product yourself. You don't have to ship it. You don't have to track anything. All you have to do is sit there, order new product when it runs out. Then once you have everything set up, the setup is the big part. And that's actually another important thing to remember, is the difference between creating a business versus having a job. Having a job or doing freelance work, it's very easy to start, but you're constantly working a lot to keep the money coming in. Whereas with a business, you do a lot of work up front, and then quite a bit less to keep the money coming in after. Okay. Good thing to consider. So Amazon, that's one way to handle a physical product. Want to sell a physical product. Another would be a site like Etsy.com. This is used more for crafts, personal handmade goods, and typically you will be shipping them yourself, but yet there are people who are traveling the world who bring these supplies with them, or find the supplies locally, and then sell them through sites like Etsy. Alright, any questions about physical products? Good, because I'm not the expert on that. Okay. Alright, next let's talk about service businesses. So, an example of this would be, for example, coaching. My wife, Jennifer, is a certified high-performance coach, and this is a type of work that if you wanted to do, you could get certified, or you could do it without certification if you want, but you're offering your personal services. Again, you're putting your personal time into offering something for somebody else. The benefit of this for the recipient is that it's a very personal service, right? They're not just buying a product off the shelf or logging into a faceless software program. They are interacting with you. You know, this another example of this would be teaching, or even something like video production. I put on here, service business, or any skill that you have that you're offering on a regular basis. That's my daughter Emily is really good at video, and she actually has a video editing job at 14, which I'm pretty proud of. But if you have a skill, for example, like video editing, go to a site like Upwork and say, hey, I do video editing, and I'm a freelancer, and I'm going to do video editing. But remember, the tax advantage, consider yourself a business. So I want you to think differently about this. Instead of thinking, I'm a video editor, and I'm going to do freelance video editing, say, I own a video editing business, a video production company. And you can start that company, you can set it up legally with the state, then any expenses that have to do with video editing, your computer software, your office space, your marketing, any of those types of things, you can then deduct, and you won't have to pay taxes on those particular items. So a little more, again, flexibility there if you have a service business. Now the disadvantage, of course, is that you have to continue putting in time until you hire somebody else and train them to do what you do. And then that takes your load off. And that's something you can't do as a freelancer, but you can do as a business. Does that make sense? Okay. Alright, and finally, we have affiliate marketing. Now this is, I think, this has probably become a lot more difficult lately due to competition and to sites like Amazon. But it's still possible. A lot of people will create a travel blog. And it is still possible to earn money through a travel blog, through ads, through partnerships with other companies, through affiliate marketing. But again, this is one that, from my experience, from what I've seen, the income is low and the effort is high. It is possible, but it is not as easy as it used to be. But easier if you have a lot of traffic. If you can build up a fantastic website or a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that, where you have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, it's quite easy to make good money with that. You just contact people, contact companies, or sometimes they'll contact you if you reach that point. And they'll say, can you post a link to our product on your website? We'll pay you $1,000 a year, whatever it is that you agree with. We have niche marketing sites. Now this is, for example, let's say you love blenders and you're like really passionate about all the different types of blenders that are out there, and you love the Vitamix, love the bullet thing and whatever else is out there. And so you create this site that tells everyone everything you need to know about blenders. And you have pictures and you have reviews and you just go all out and you just educate people about blenders. Well, under each of these articles and on every page of your site, all over the place, you have links for people to click to buy those blenders. Not from you, but from blender manufacturing company, from Amazon, or from wherever you want to sell them from, and then you will earn a commission on every sale that happens. So if somebody clicks your link, goes to the website and buys it, that company will then pay you a commission, usually 5%, 10%, 50%, up to 50% even. In fact, my company, Music Teachers Helper, we have an affiliate program. So if any of you know any music teachers, you can join our affiliate program, send them a link, and if they buy, then you get 20% recurring monthly commission every month, as long as they stay with us. So that's an example of an affiliate program and how that could work. And then finally we have ads, which I guess I kind of talked about already. But this, again, it's mostly helpful if you have a very large following already, or if you've built up a very large following. So that covers, I know I went through that really fast. There's a lot more detail we can go into on creating a business. So does anyone have any questions about any of these types of businesses? Or any questions about having started with them or anything like that? No questions. Okay. Yes.
So, in your case,
I was just thinking, like in your case, where you have like several different ideas going. So, do you have an umbrella company, or do you have multiple companies with different unit numbers?
Great question. So, in my case, I started out with one company. And that company actually branched into two. So I have Music Teacher's Helper, which eventually I created Studio Helper with, because Studio Helper is a program that's similar in purpose to Music Teacher's Helper in that it helps you manage billing and scheduling and all of that. But it's for, not just for independent music teachers, it's for larger studios and schools with multiple teachers, including yoga studios, dance studios, all of that type of thing. So I created that as a separate company owned by an umbrella company in that case. However, my other stuff, like Family Venture Summit, the retreat I'm doing in Romania in summer, my Family Travel Accelerator, my Dream Achievement Blueprint, blah, 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 all that stuff, all that stuff is under a different company, an LLC, completely separate from the teacher stuff. But I've kind of kept them grouped in category. And then my real estate is other LLCs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think from a legal standpoint, it's best to keep them separate from a liability, from an asset protection standpoint. However, from a tax standpoint, it's much more convenient to have everything as an umbrella company, because then you only have to file once for the one company, not for every little company underneath. So if you've got multiple businesses, umbrella company can be a good way to go for that reason. But just make sure that you have things protected from a legal standpoint. Talk to your lawyer about that. Any other questions? All right. Well, then next, let's talk about the third category of income: real estate and investing. So there are a lot of different ways that you can earn money from investing, and there's kind of the myth that you need to have money to make money in investing, and that can be true, but there are also a lot of creative ways around it. So first we have long-term rental property. How many of you here own a home? Okay, how many of you own your home 100%? Just curious. Ah, cool. Okay, quite a few of you. So, and how many of you are renting out your home right now? How many of you are doing it as a long-term rental? Okay, great. So, this is a wonderful way to earn income because you're providing housing for someone else when you're not using it. You can do this with your own home, of course, when you're traveling. Fantastic way to earn some extra money. Or you can purchase an additional home or multiple homes and rent them out as cash flowing properties. The reason that I love real estate, there's so many reasons I love real estate. One is it's continuing cash flow. It's not something like where you just get a quick return once and you're done. I mean, it is that way, I guess, if you're fixing and flipping. Right? But if you're doing long-term investment, this is money that will continue to pay you for the rest of your life. And it will continue to grow as the asset appreciates. Real estate does have its ups and downs like any market, but over time, it has generally been an appreciating asset. Another side of that, though, is short-term rentals or vacation rentals. So how many of you here rent out a house on Airbnb or any other vacation rental site? A couple of you. Cool. So with renting out, whether you're doing long-term or short-term, really important thing to consider is this going to earn more than I'm spending on the house? If your mortgage payment is $1,000 and you can rent out your house for $800, that's not a good deal. Like, don't you get better off living in your house or selling it. If you're going to get a house that you can, your mortgage payment is $1,000 and you can rent it out for $1,500 and your expenses are $200 or $300, then you're making $200 or $300 per month as you rent that house out, and the mortgage is getting paid as you go. So it's a fantastic investment. And there are ways you can get into it. Again, if you download the resource sheet that I sent you earlier, there's several ways that kind of point you, several different places I point you to. You can get started learning about how to purchase properties with very little money or with other equity you may have. So vacation rentals I also love, though. And I have two of these. One in Bali. And in Bali, actually, you can't own property as a foreigner. But we have a long-term lease on a property there. We actually found this house. We were just looking to kind of get a place to store our things for a while. We're loving Bali. We lived there for like 2 or 3 years, renting quite expensive Airbnbs because we wanted enough space for our family of 5. And we just got tired of paying so much. We're like, let's just find a cheap place and put our stuff in. And we found a house, a 3-bedroom house, with a pool, lovely view of the jungle, and it was $5,000 a year to rent this house. And it was unfurnished, though. And we had to pay for 3 years up front to get that price. But as we did that, we realized, well, there's a few things that are wrong with the house. Let's just fix up a few things and we'll be good. But we kind of got carried away with the fixing up, and we ended up renovating into this beautiful luxury villa that we now rent out on Airbnb for around $5,000 per month. So that has become a very lucrative investment for our family. Although, after 17 years, unless we extend the lease, we won't own the property, right? It'll go back into the hands of the landlord. Second vacation rental is in Mexico, in San Miguel de Allende, where we're actually living. We haven't made hardly any money on that yet because we're just living there and spending a lot of money fixing it up. But I do expect that to become a good investment over time. But yeah, again, with whether you're doing long-term rental or short-term rental, some of the resources, please check out that resource guide. Like if you go to airdna.com or mashvisor.com, you can get statistics on how much Airbnbs are renting for in your area, what the occupancy rate is, or any area. And it can give you a great idea of what you'd be able to get for your property if you were to rent it out. And over the short term, over the long term, in different seasons, it's just fantastic tools that are out there. So I encourage you to look those up if you're interested in real estate investing. There's a few different sites. They're all on the resource guide, but one of them is airdna.com. And another one is called MashVisor. MashVisor is just for the U.S. only, but and also great for long-term rentals. It will give you just fantastic data, even to the neighborhood level of the benefits and the expenses and the cost of purchasing and renting out a home. Mostly single-family homes, although I think they're starting to branch out into multifamily as well at mashvisor.com. Just MASHVISOR. Okay, other types of investing, we have stock trading, Forex, cryptocurrency. Anyone here play around with these things? Okay, cool. Now, I would actually probably not constitute stock trading as investing, because in my mind, anyway, my definition is an investment is something that you buy or you pay money for up front, and you do practically nothing, and then you get paid for it. But stock trading, you have to continue working at it. You have to, play with candle charts and everything in order to continue getting the money coming in. With real estate, for example, I need to say this. So, one big hesitation people have about renting out a place as a rental is they don't want to be a landlord. You don't want to get calls at 2 a.m. to go fix toilets, right? Who wants that? Or your hands. No, that's not fun. But earlier in my business, I am so the opposite of a handyman. Like if you give me a hammer and a nail, I'll probably just hurt myself. So I knew that when we bought our first home, even back in Utah, it was so painful for me. Like I couldn't fix anything. I didn't want to fix anything. I would always just hurt myself if I tried. We hired her to fix a tiny little issue. He comes in for 10 minutes, couldn't fix the problem, still charging us $400. And I was like, this is not cool. So now, for these properties, we have hired a property management company. So there's a company in the States that is taking care of I have a multi-family fourplex in Salt Lake. And they do everything. They screen the tenants. They find the tenants. They do background checks. They handle repairs. They do the yard maintenance. They handle evictions. They take care of everything. The only thing that I have to do is look at the reports at the end of the month to see how much money I made, or sometimes how much was spent on repairs. And then occasionally throughout the month, they may email me and say, hey, this unit needs a new oven. It's going to cost this much, which is more than the threshold you set for what you wanted to spend. Is that okay? And I'll say, yeah, that's okay. And they go ahead and do it. And that's it. It is effortless. So property management company is totally the way to go. And I even made the decision that if I ever own my own home again, which I do now in San Miguel, I'm going to get a property management company to run it, and then I'll just rent it for myself. And that's what I'm doing. Property management company in San Miguel de Allende, they charge $125 flat fee every month. They take care of everything. If there's any problem, I call the same people, and they send out the right guys. They take care of it. It's all handled. I don't have to worry about it. And repairs are so cheap in places like Mexico and Bali, which is why I really love vacation rentals in other parts of the world. In the States, I don't have a vacation rental in the States, but from my perception, it would be a lot more expensive to do things like cleaning, repair work, and such. Still possible. A lot of people make good money with it, but maybe not as much profit as they do in other countries compared to traditional rentals. Okay, but anyway, back to stocks, forex, and cryptocurrency. Even though I don't necessarily see trading as an investment, if you have stocks that are paying dividends, that could be considered a recurring income that you get from that. Forex is foreign exchange trading. And cryptocurrency is, wow. Whew, there's a lot going on, a lot of exciting things with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the blockchain right now. Very volatile market, potentially very lucrative, but also potentially very devastating. So I highly encourage caution if you're interested in entering into that. I've been playing around it a bit myself on 15, 20 different coins, but I have no idea what's going to happen with them. So I would encourage you just to not invest anything that you're not able to lose. So you're not comfortable losing because you probably will lose it. Okay. And then, of course, the final option is just to live off of savings and investing, which is live off of your savings or investments. I mean, if you have, $2 million tucked away somewhere, you can pull off a little bit every month and probably live off that for quite a while. So that could be considered an investment. So, with all of that, anybody have any questions or thoughts or comments about real estate or investing? Yes.
Can you say the name of that second website again after Airbnb? You had another one, but I missed it.
Mashvisor.com. Yeah, fantastic site. Any other questions? Yes.
I think one of the cautions I've heard
I guess one of the fears that I have about buying real estate in other countries is that real estate laws are going to change and that I'm going to own property, and as a gringo, I'll be left with the short end of the stick.
Great question. So, a few things about purchasing real estate in other countries. In some countries, again, you can't purchase real estate at all, like in Indonesia. And so, what we're doing is we're leasing from a Balinese landlord. And yes, there is risk there. There is risk there. I mean, he could, do something awful, and then I would have very little. What's the word?
Recourse.
Thank you for being able to take care of that. But we were able to get to know the landlord a bit before we purchased, and we felt comfortable about whether we used our intuition as well as some of the numbers and ran that. In other countries, this maybe won't directly address your question, but for example, in Mexico, you can't typically get a mortgage if you're buying property here, so you would need to pay 100% cash for the property, or work out some kind of seller financing arrangement, or like we did, you could use a home equity line from another property, from a property in the States. In other countries, like Portugal, for example, you can get a mortgage no problem as a foreigner. Just put 20% down, you can buy a house, buy anything there, and then use that and rent it out. Of course, every place has different laws. So especially if you're doing vacation rentals, look at the legalities in that area. Some places may say, sorry, and this is an issue. I think it's very important to consider if you're going to do an Airbnb or a vacation rental that you're in an area where it might also be lucrative as a traditional rental, because some cities are saying, sorry, no Airbnb anymore, or if we do, you have to live there 6 months out of the year, or you can only rent out a room in your house, you can't rent the whole house. Some of those types of laws are getting into place. In other cities, they're legalizing it completely, saying totally fine, but it depends on the area where you're at. So I would say that risk, maybe not of like losing the home completely, but of the profitability that you can gain from it it depends even within the States and Canada. So it is something important to consider, but typically I think if you're doing it in a fairly developed country, the laws are going to be such that I think the risk of losing a property completely just because the government decides they don't want to have it anymore is pretty low if you're following the laws and doing everything correctly. Any other questions on that? Yes?
Do you have any disastrous deals or business ventures that you want to share with
Disastrous deal. You know, when we were building our house in Bali, we were doing this huge remodel project. This is the first time we had remodeled anything. So we never built anything. We'd never done a construction project. We're basically the second house we'd ever owned. The other one was just in the suburbs in Utah. So I again, know nothing about construction. So when we first found a contractor, he was an Australian guy, and he kind of said one thing, but then another thing actually became the reality. And he ended up he said, I'll be your contractor, I'll bring in my guys and we'll do the work and whatever. But after a few weeks, it turned out that he expected me to be the general contractor, me who knows nothing about construction. And one day I came on site, and we have a window. This was a remodel project, so we had a window that was there. There was going to be just this beautiful view looking out. And they had built a cement pillar right in front of the middle of the window. Like touching the window. And I'm like, why would you even do that? So that was my big moment of like, what am I doing? But we had them take it down, and we actually eventually found a different contractor. We worked with actually an architect and an interior designer from Belgium who were living in Bali at the time, who helped us just design a glorious space for the villa. So that's one way we got around it, is working with foreigners who had local connections in a different way, but we had to find the right people, and that's been so critical for us, is really finding the people that connect with us, not just like, yeah, they got the numbers, they got the people, but like they feel good to us as well. Energetically, it's a good match. And that's made a big difference, following our intuition on that. Alright. So moving on, let's talk just a bit about which income source is the best for you. We've talked about so many, and there are thousands more ways and thousands more details we can get into with each of these about ways to spend your travel. So the question for each of you, though, is which one is going to work for you? And it could, again, be multiple sources of income that you could be building. But one thing is clear. You got to connect, right? It's a lot of work to putting one of these on. So here's some questions you can ask yourself to help you determine which of these is going to be good for you. First, which is most interesting to you? Of all the different types of income sources, from jobs, all the different types of businesses, different types of investing, if anything just strike you as, that sounds kind of cool. I'd kind of like to learn more about that. I'd kind of like to do that. If something sparks your interest, that may be for you a route to go to next. Or which has the potential income you're looking for. If you're only looking for $1,000 a month because you want a little extra income to maybe have a little nicer lifestyle, then pretty much any of these that we talked about today, you're going to be able to get that. If you're looking for $50,000 a month to be able to live a different type of lifestyle, you're going to have to go likely the business or investing route, and maybe specific types of businesses or investing. So keep in mind your income goals in helping determine which income source you're looking for. Next, which one matches the level of effort you want to put in up front? Do you have right now an extra 20 hours a week that you can dedicate to building your business and creating an income source of any kind? Or you have 1 or 2 hours a week that you can commit? How much time do you want to, and how much time do you really actually have available to you right now that you can allocate to building this income source? You got to be clear on that. And that'll help you maybe determine which one is the best for you. And that's which one aligns with your life mission and goals and what's important to you, or back to what you're passionate about, right? Living with passion. So which of these income sources fuels your passion? And maybe when you say business, that's general, right? That could be cat sweaters, or it could be blenders. I'm coming up with stupid examples, but whatever you're passionate about, you could turn that into a business. And then again, yeah, it's good to have more than one, right? Because one, if you have one income source that gets cut off, maybe you have a job, right? And you get fired, right? My father-in-law did. Or maybe you just have an issue with the job you've got and you quit, like I did. It's so nice to have something else to fall back on and to continue to have income while you're continuing to build another source. So what I want to do now is I want to invite you to challenge yourself a little bit, to get into your stretch zone and choose an income source that you want to develop next in your life. Maybe it's starting from scratch, maybe you've already started developing this income source, but you want to take it to the next level. What is that for you? What is that next income source for you? And then once you've decided, I want you to make a commitment to begin creating that income source, to begin working on it. Maybe you've decided which it is, now make the commitment to actually do it. And then open up your calendar. If you have one right now, on your phone or in your book, open it up and actually write down a specific time this week or next week that you're going to begin working on it. Because if you don't do that, this wonderful, all the things that we're hearing today, they'll float in and out of your mind for a while. But if you want it to stick, I highly encourage you to make it concrete. Put it in your calendar. Schedule a time that you are going to commit and dedicate time, whatever the next step is. Whether it's, doing research to figure out, if you don't even know what the business is or what the project is or the income sources you want to develop, maybe you just need to set aside time to figure that out. But maybe you know what it is and you just need to research the next step. Maybe you need to create some marketing. Maybe you need to start working on creating an actual product. Whatever it is that you're doing, set aside some time to do it. Make it happen for you. And then, again, I encourage you to download the worksheet and the resource guide. And now that's the correct URL. So if you wrote it down wrong before, that's the correct one. Follow the links. There are dozens of different links. In fact, I have one printed copy here. Just a few pages of links and resources and questions for you to go through, from negotiating remote work to finding foreign jobs and teaching online and creating a business and doing real estate investing, all these different categories. Some of my favorite resources that I've found helpful over the years that other people have recommended to me that can help you take the next steps in any of these income sources that you're wanting to create. Now, especially with the business, a lot of people get hung up when it doesn't work out how they want. Maybe they get started, and after a few weeks or a few months or even a few years of hard effort, nothing comes of it, or very little comes of it. And maybe you're making, $1,500 a month, or whatever it is, you're not satisfied with. Give that as an example, because that's what I earned after 3 or 4 years. But a lot of people will give up. They'll think, well, maybe this isn't the business that's going to work for me. Maybe this idea isn't really what I thought it was. And maybe sometimes it's not. And you've got to tune into yourself and ask yourself that. But if you can connect yourself back again to that why. Remember what you wrote down earlier in the session? About why you wanted more income. What you were going to use it for. I recommend you look at that again. And you review that. And maybe you even modify the story if necessary. And connect yourself to what it is that you want to create in your why. And then you will have the motivation to pull yourself through those difficult times. And to be able to make it through to the point where your business succeeds. Because there will be difficult times. You'll have a lot of hard work ahead of you. When I was first creating this business, it was just all consuming. It occupied practically every waking thought. And it wasn't easy. But I'm very glad that I stuck to it. And I didn't stick to it because I just got to do it and I'm just going to be hard work. I stuck to it because I wanted to provide for my family no matter what happened to me. That pulled me through. So what's going to pull you through? What's your why? And the other thing, I've had periods throughout the business where I've kind of felt burned out. Even after it's successful, even after I'm working 4 hours, right? 4 hours a week, you think that, that's kind of off. Well, I'll unplug that real quick. Okay. So even after having achieved like 4-hour work week and having people run my business, I got to a point where I was kind of burned out. I'm like, I don't really enjoy this particular business anymore. I'm not a music teacher anymore. It's not really my thing. I want to focus on like inspiring people to live their dreams and have amazing lives, and that's why I'm doing all this stuff like at this conference. Hanging out with you people because I love this. But I needed to run this business, right? This was something that I had developed over years. I had thousands of customers that I was ready to support, that I needed to continue supporting. And one thing that helped me during those difficult times that I share with you, because I hope it helps you if you ever encounter a period of burnout in maybe the career that you're in right now, or maybe in the income source or business that you're going to create in the future, is that I connected myself not just to this why. I was fairly connected to that why. I'd achieved that why. But I connected back to really the service aspect of what I was doing. Connecting back to the people that I was helping. And I started interviewing some of the teachers, some of my customers who were paying for a product, and I was just touched at how, to be able to see how much this program that I had spent years of my life creating was helping them. They were feeling like their lives were finally in control. They're more organized than they ever had been. They were able to communicate and connect better with their students than they'd ever had been. They're not frazzled like they used to be before using the product. And being able to tune back into that, to touch back into that, gave me motivation to keep going. This program that I created is helping people. It's benefiting their lives, and I want to keep supporting them. So if you reach a period of burnout in your career, I encourage you to think about the people that you're serving. Think about the people at the end of the spectrum, right? Who are the recipients of your work, of your effort. Because what we're doing with creating businesses isn't, again, just to make money. This is to contribute of yourself in a meaningful way. A way that's meaningful to you, but that's also meaningful to the people that you're giving to. And if you can connect those two, it can bring the passion and the joy back into the income source. So there are, as I mentioned, thousands of families out there right now traveling the world, and they are earning income in thousands of different ways. All the ways we've talked about here, every single way that we've talked about, there are families earning income, supporting their travels in that way. And when they started, they were no different from you or me. Maybe they didn't have the skills or the knowledge they needed to be able to develop that income source, but they dug in, they made a commitment, they connected to their why, they kept going, they learned, they practiced, they studied, they committed themselves week after week, day after day, to putting in the time, to building it. And they got there. And you can do it too. So, in closing, I just want to remind us that, we all have a great capacity within us. We all have the same internet available to us to learn from. We all have each other to learn from, and the rest of the people in the world to continue educating ourselves. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. We have different responsibilities, but we can choose how we allocate those. And if you can commit, if this is important to you, to increase your income, to how much time are you currently dedicating to that? Not just to earning income the way you currently are, but to increasing your income. You said that was a goal earlier. A lot of you did. How many of you want to earn income? A lot of you raised your hand. So how much time are you dedicating each week to focusing on increasing your income? And if you feel like it's not enough, then I encourage you to increase that. So, getting back again into the passion of it, remember that you can do this, and I look forward to seeing you on the road a year from now, some other place, having accomplished and lived that dream that you wrote down earlier, that income vision that you had. I would love to meet you and hear about how you had accomplished that. So, thank you for listening to me jabber on, and I hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you on the road.